Dear God in heaven, we want to thank you for this new Sabbath day. That that even though it's a rainy time, that we can still have our time together on Zoom. And will you bless me also in giving the presentation? Also help me, because it will be different a little bit than normally. It will be more interactive. So will you help all of us to to think together, and also to keep learning, even though it's stuff that we have already spoken about a lot. But will you help us to get also new things and new thoughts from it? I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. So I will start just with a review what Emilis did. Wait, share. Where can I share? Here. This one. This was Emilis' last whiteboard. Because this is what was actually in this presentation, where Elder Tess compared the left and the right, and she asked the question. Also, it was also quite an interactive presentation. She asked the question to the group, like, if you can describe the right or the left in one word, what would you say? People were giving a lot of different words, of course, like conservative versus progressive, nationalists versus globalists, individualism, collectivism, capitalism, socialism. They are giving all these words, and then the thing that you see here above is actually the conclusion, because in the end, then they concluded that if you really go back to the essence, like what they stand for, the values they stand for, then you see that the left stands for equality and the right stands for freedom. And of course, equality and freedom are both good things. This is not like good versus bad. But when they clash, like when there is a situation in which you can choose either equality or freedom, you see that the left chooses equality over freedom and the right chooses freedom over equality. And we will see this more clearly in some examples that we're going to discuss. So yeah, this was just a quick review. Then you also see here that the left wants to have a big government, and the right, people on the right, they want to have a small government. And so he discusses like, why is that? Because you could think, I'm just going to share a different screen. Is there? Yeah, there is actually a whiteboard. Let me see 1 second if this is working. Yeah. So you all see the whiteboard, I think. If you would have a a big government, let's say, I see Annabeth moving the doesn't matter. This is distracting. Yeah, I'm going to draw on the whiteboard, so just leave it like it is. If you would have a big government, is it this? Oh, yeah. Mark, don't play with the whiteboard, please. Can wait, can I change the settings that it's I don't want this. Yeah, this is better. If you have a big government, let's say there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's say there's 5 people. Of course, this is not big, but this for the illustration. And if you have a small government and there's only 3 people. Yeah, what someone was suggesting in the presentation of Tess, it was like she asked like the question, why does the left want a big government and the right a small government? And then people were arguing like maybe it's they need a big government to have diversity. So for example, you have a black person and a woman and a transgender person and a gay person in the government. Yeah, but Tess explains that this is not the case, because if you have a small government and you have, for example, this person is a black person, this is the women, and this is a trans person, but you have a big government and this is all white men, for example. Yeah, it still doesn't change much about diversity. How can I erase this? I don't know how to. Sorry, one moment to.
You want to erase it?
Yes, but I don't.
Down you have the arrows that point back. De pijltjes die terugwijzen, misschien allemaal indrukken. Die 100 keer indruk.
Doesn't work.
No.
I can't do it.
I don't know.
Maybe you can somewhere click that you want a new one.
Yeah. Okay, let's just make a new one.
Good idea.
Okay. This is not the case now. The reason they want the right wants a small government is because the government only has the task to protect like the safety of the people and to enforce the law. So it gives you more freedom. Well, if you have a big government, well, if you want to have equality, you need a bigger government to guarantee this equality. For example, well, especially economic equality, of course, if you have like in a capitalist system, for example, there is just people having a business, making money and employing whoever they want and paying the salary whatever they want. You don't actually need so much to do as a government. But if you want to have more equality, like for the workers to have better payments, better circumstances, then the government needs to take taxes and to give money to people who are unemployed or who not have enough income. So the government has a lot more tasks in a more socialist system. And also the government has work to do to prevent like discrimination. That was the big versus small government. So then the next thing Yeah, the right people on the right, they don't want the government to interfere with their freedom, so they like a small government who doesn't ask a lot of taxes, so they want to have low taxes and a lot of freedom. And the left, they want a big government to protect minorities and to retain oppression. Then, of course, we can ask, like, what does freedom and equality actually mean? This is just from the dictionary. Freedom is the condition or the right of being able or allowed to do, say, think, etc., whatever you want to without being controlled or limited. Yeah, so people, they just want to have freedom of expression, for example. They can just say what they want, and they don't want the government to interfere with that. And equality is a situation in which men and women, people of different races, religions, etc., are all treated fairly and have the same opportunities. And if you want to have that equality, yeah, there is a lot of work to do to pursue that. So that's why we need the government to have a lot more tasks. Then Tess is giving 2 stories to illustrate this, to make it more practical, actually. The first one is, let's say that I start a business, and this business is, let's say it is, let's say I will start a garage for repairing the cars, for example. I think her business was construction, but it will be the same thing. Let's say this is my business, and this is for repairing the cars, for example. And okay, Mark likes drawing, so that's good. Then I make it a little bit.
Looks like a Hummer.
So yeah, this is a Hummer garage. This was not exactly this example, I think, but I just make it this. But I am a sexist person, and I think only men that can work with cars. So I want to employ people, and I employ only men. So I say this is, let's say I'm a right-wing person, and I say this is my, wait, I don't.
You can also write
Type.
type.
Yeah, of course, this is easier. Yeah, type. Okay, just ignore that because I don't know how to erase it. I say this is my business. So it's my freedom to employ who I want. But then there is a woman who also likes to work with cars, and she applies for a job at my company. And I say, no, this job is only for men. Hey. So then she goes to the court, and then the government says, like, no, we stand for equality, and we have anti-discrimination laws, so you have to yeah, everyone fairly, of course. If she's not a good worker, I don't have to employ her, but I shouldn't discriminate based on her gender. So here a person on the right would say like, no, this is my business, it's my freedom. But a person on the left would say like, no, this goes against equality, so your freedom should be limited. Yeah, so this is a good illustration, I think, of the right and the left. And because here freedom and equality, they go against each other, they contradict. Then the next example is, of course, an example we all know very well because we've already talked about a lot. This is the example of Masterpiece Cake Shop. Masterpiece Cake Shop versus Colorado Civil Rights Commission. There was a baker somewhere in Colorado, of course, in the United States. There was a baker and he had a bakery. And let's say this is the bakery. And he is baking the cakes. Is this a good cupcake? No, not really, I think. But you know, this is the cake shop. No. No, it's not better. Okay.
Don't worry.
Not a good jar. This is, it looks like a mushroom, but it is a cupcake.
Sandwich.
And there is a gay couple coming to the cake shop. No. No. I had to practice more drawing, sorry. I did practice a little bit, but not enough. Let's draw it here. That's fine. So this is the gay couple coming to the cake shop, and they are going to get married, and they want to have a special cake for the wedding. But the owner of the cake shop is a conservative Christian, and he doesn't want to bake a cake for them. So he says the same thing, actually. He says, this is my cake shop. It's my, in this case, it's his religious freedom to, okay, not bake a cake for a gay couple. So he is using his freedom again, but this couple, they went to the court, and it even it got to the Supreme Court even. And they say the same thing, like, yeah, they want no discrimination, equality. So they say that no, you should bake a cake for every couple, not only for heterosexual people. So this case, it became known as Masterpiece Cake Shop versus Colorado Civil Rights Commission, and it's yeah, it got very big and very well known actually. But what is interesting is that there are also LGBT people who are Republican, and they would support actually the freedom for this masterpiece cake shop. This may sound weird, because why don't they support the cake couple? But this is because they believe in freedom. So they would say, like, this cake couple, of course, they have the freedom to marry. They have the freedom to have a cake for their wedding. But this cake shop owner also has his freedom to say, like, no, I don't want to bake a cake for you based on my convictions. Yeah, that is actually a libertarian argument, which is going to discuss in later presentations. But the idea behind it, what they say is that I will disagree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. Yeah, because those people, they believe so much in freedom of opinion that even if they don't like the opinion, or even if it goes against their own rights, they will still support this freedom. So there is an article about this case that's mentioned it, but she doesn't read the whole article. So what I want to do is just read the article together, because actually it was not really clear to me, but I think the Masterpiece Cake Shop, they won the court case. But let's read it together and see yeah, how it went. So I close this one. And I share a new screen, and I share this one. The article is by the American Bar Association. It's an association of American lawyers. And it's titled "Not a Masterpiece: The Supreme Court's Decision in Masterpiece Cake Shop versus Colorado Civil Rights Commission." Yeah, the article, it is yeah, it is a little bit long, but we have time. We have half an hour left, so maybe if someone wants, if someone likes to read like the first part until here. Maybe Lisanne, can you read?
Oh, yes, I can read. No case before the US Supreme Court in October term 2017 received more attention or raised more important issues than Masterpiece Cake Shop Ltd versus Colorado Civil Rights Commission. The underlying issue is profoundly significant. Does a business have a constitutional right to discriminate based on its owner's beliefs? All anti-discrimination statutes pose a tension between equality and liberty. Any law that prohibits discrimination, whether based on race or sex or religion or sexual orientation or any other grounds, denies the freedom to choose who to serve or to hire. Indeed, this was a key objection to the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits places of public accommodation from discriminating based on race and forbids employers from discriminating based on race, sex, or religion. The law interferes with the freedom to choose one's customers or employees. Congress and the courts both deemed ending discrimination to be more important than protecting the right to discriminate.
Oh.
But that was exactly the issue in Masterpiece Cake Shop. Is a business freedom to choose its customers more important than the government interest in stopping sexual orientation discrimination? The Supreme Court did not answer this question, but instead decided the case on narrower grounds by concluding that members of the Colorado Colorado Civil Rights Commission expressed impermissible hostility to religion. But with Justice Anthony Kennedy's retirement, it is likely that there are 5 votes in the future to allow businesses to discriminate. This would open a potentially broad exception to federal, state, and local civil rights laws.
Okay. Let's see if this alone. Okay. Mark, can you read the facts?
Is it okay?
There was some echo. But
yeah.
I think now it's okay.
The facts. Charlie, Greg, and David Mullins got married in Massachusetts and wanted to celebrate their wedding where they lived in Colorado. In July 2012, they went to a local bakery, Masterpiece Cake Shop, a limited liability company in Colorado, and sought to purchase a wedding cake. The owner, Jack Phillips, refused to design and bake the cake, saying that gay marriage violated his religious beliefs. He said that he would be implicitly complicit in violation of his religion if he were to design and bake the cake. He was willing for his bakery to sell an already prepared cake for the couple, but not to make one for them. Do I carry on?
Yes.
The Colorado Anti-Discrimination Act prohibits businesses from discriminating, including based on sexual orientation. The law provides it is a discriminatory practice and unlawful for a person directly or indirectly to refuse, withhold from, or deny to an individual or a group because of disability, race, creed, color, sex, sexual orientation, marital status, national origin, or ancestry. The full and equal enjoyment of goods, services, facilities, privileges, advantages, and or accommodations of a place of public accommodation. Greg and Mullins filed a discrimination complaint against Masterpiece Cake Shop and Phillips in September 2012. Shortly after the couple's visit to the shop, the Colorado Civil Rights Division found probable cause that Philip violated the act and referred to the case to the state's Civil Rights Commission. The commission found it proper to conduct a formal hearing, and it sent the case to a state administrative law judge. Finding no dispute as to material facts that ALG, the state administrative law judge, entertained the cross motions for summary judgment and ruled in the couple's favor. The Colorado Civil Rights Commission agreed and found that Philip violated Colorado's public accommodations law that prohibits businesses, establishments from the discriminating, including on the basis of sexual orientation. Philip would design and bake a cake for opposite-sex couples, but not for same-sex couples, a form of discrimination that violated state law. The Colorado Court of Appeals affirmed the Commission's ruling against Masterpiece Cake Shop. The Colorado Supreme Court denied review. The question presented states. The question presented states whether applying Colorado's public accommodations law to compel Phillips to create expression that violates his sincerely held religious beliefs about marriage violates the free speech of free exercise clauses of the First Amendment.
Let's see. People protesting. Yeah, okay, let me summarize a little bit. There was...
Dan moet je even je geluid aanzetten, anders dan heel...
Oh, is my sound?
Sorry, we did...
Oh.
No.
Did somebody want to say anything? No? Okay, let's just do a quick review because it was quite a lot of text already. Yeah, as we said, this couple, they went to this cake shop. The cake shop owner didn't want to bake a cake for them. What I found quite funny is that he said that he would be okay with selling them a cake, just not baking a cake, which I find a little bit contradicting. Like, if you are so much against it, why are you okay with selling the cake? But yeah, but then okay, they went to the court in Colorado itself, and you have the Colorado Civil Rights Commission, which is a commission that supports the gay couple. But they went to the court, and this court said, like, well, yeah, they ruled in favor of the gay couple, because of the Civil Rights Act in 1964. This was now it gets more interesting to compare it with racism, because the Civil Rights Act, this was made to end racism, because in the 1960s still there was this segregation in America, like you had white restaurants and black restaurants, or in a restaurant the white people are sitting in one place and the black people in another place. And this Civil Rights Act, it made an end to that. So it said, like, when you own a restaurant, for example, you cannot say we only want white people, or these chairs are only for white people. And or in the bus, of course, we had the famous example with Rosa Parks, who took the seat in the bus, which was actually for white persons. So they're actually comparing it, like, because this Civil Rights Act, it's prohibited places from discriminating based on race, of course, but also based on sex or religion. So they just they made the parallel, like, okay, you cannot say I bake only cakes for white couples and not for black people. So the same would be true if you say, like, oh, I bake only cakes for heterosexual couples and not for gay couples. Then you're doing the same thing. So it should not be allowed to have that discrimination. You should just bake a cake for everyone. Yeah, so this is the conclusion they are coming to, but there is a but, because this was about equality, but then we have here the free speech or free exercise clauses of the First Amendment. So now you see the other side is coming and saying, like, hey, but we also have freedom of speech. So this cake shop owner, he should also have his freedom to deny the gay couple, to deny baking a cake for a gay couple. Yeah, so this is my summary. Are there maybe other people who noticed some things that I didn't already mention?
I think only that it makes it so much more clear on which side we have to stand if you take it to the Civil Rights Act and
Yes.
raise the race issue, because sometimes it would be if this cake shop owner would say, hey, you're black and I won't bake a cake for a black person, then we would all say, whoa, this is so bad, you know. and
Yes.
now he says, hey, I don't bake a cake for a gay couple, and then me in my heart, I'm almost saying, yeah, but isn't this his freedom to decide? It's his religious belief.
Yeah.
And you really have to see it that way to also say, whoa, this is really bad what he's saying. You really have to compare it, because
Yeah.
otherwise you're almost like, yeah, but this is religion and this is just racism or something, you know, that
Yes.
otherwise you make it different and it's the same, you know.
Yeah, I also forgot this comparison actually, because I forgot that it was in this article, because just before the presentation I was talking to my parents, and I told them that I'm going to give the presentation, and I gave a kind of a summary like about the left and the right, and that we will discuss this masterpiece cake shop, this court case. And then they reacted like, oh, that is very American to to go to the Supreme Court for such a little thing. Like, you know, Americans, they are known to go to the court for everything. Like, which like there are a lot of examples, like someone falling over a wet floor in a restaurant and then going to the court to get a lot of money from the restaurant. Like, usually there's people that they are not that they won't do that. They would just say like, oh, I'm so sorry, and not make it so big.
And usually we would be very happy that in Holland it's totally different. That we don't sue everyone where we who doesn't make sure that the floor is not slippery, you know.
Yeah.
But in this case, I think it's so discriminatory that it's a good thing that cases are brought to the Supreme Court to see, hey, what's the right way of dealing. But it's very normal for our Dutch people. Like, we would just go to another cake shop.
Yes, exactly.
And try it there, you know.
Exactly. That is what my father said. Like, if I was that gay person, I would just go to a different bakery, like, and not go to the court and make it so big, because
I wouldn't even want this bake shop to bake my cake anymore.
Exactly. He said, like, if you go to the court for that, then this cake shop owner will get only more hateful against gay people, because because you make it into a very big conflict. But but I forgot, like, to compare it with racism, because if a cake shop would say, I bake only cakes for white people, and I think my parents, they would also not support that.
What did you want to say? Janice is sitting.
Yeah, I
said
don't.
To me, she wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just also, when we read it, I thought, wow, would I have stood up against it? Because there are so many small things that happen in your daily life, and it's easier to just think, I'm a peaceful person, and I just go to a different shop. But when I read this, I think it's really important that people stand up, and I thought, would I be the one that really makes it an issue and says, okay, no, not like this?
Yes, like in the Netherlands, in the past we also had a kind of exception with same-sex marriage, like the I don't know how you say it, the person who marries a couple, the huwelijksambtenaar. I don't know this word, but there are, of course, people working at the community house, and they have this function to to marry people. So they lead the ceremony and everything. And if such a person would not agree with homosexuality, they could say like, oh, I don't want to marry gay couples, I only marry straight couples. This was for a while, this was the kind of exception based on religious beliefs or conviction, you could say that, but then they changed it. Like now you cannot say no anymore. If you have that job, you have to marry anyone. You cannot say I only marry straight couples, but that is a bigger thing, I think. It looks bigger because that is about marriage, but of course in that case you can also say like, oh, I can of course the local government, they can if that person doesn't want to marry the couple, then they have to find another person to do it. So it was never a real problem like gay couples cannot marry because there's no one, because they always find someone. So it's a little bit a similar case, but of course the wedding seems like a bigger thing than the cake. But it's the same thing actually about freedom or equality.
And you also ask yourself, would I want to be married by someone that doesn't really want to marry me? That's an all different question, of course, but that's what comes to mind. Like,
if that person sits there like, happy wedding, and
So I now declare you man and not being unhappy or whatever.
No.
That would be so not nice on your wedding day.
Yeah, exactly. So I think now the people who are really against it, they don't do this job anymore, I think, because if they really don't support it, they will just don't do it. It was just it's just a kind of side job. It's not a full-time job because there are not that many weddings on a day. So it's not like people really losing their job because of this. It's it's like a side task for people who already work in the community. Okay, so of course we see people here who stand with the cake shop that are protesting, like the government is not the cake boss, love free speech, so they're demonstrating clearly for freedom. And then there's people the other side supporting the Equality Act, which was another act, I think, for freedom against sexism, I think. Equality for men and women. I think the Equality Act, it was about equal payment for or against something, another act against discrimination based on gender, I think. But we don't know. Okay. The decision. So maybe Annabeth, can you read let me check how long. Yeah, is this fine, or shall we split it between you?
No,
yeah,
it's fine. The decision. On Monday, June 4, 2018, the U.S. Supreme Court reversed in a 7-2 decision. Justice Kennedy wrote for the court. Only Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Sonia Sotomayor dissented. The court did not reach the central issues of the case. Would it violate free exercise of religion or freedom of speech under the First Amendment to force Master P's Cake Shop to design and bake a cake for same-sex wedding? Instead, the court found that the Colorado Civil Rights Commission had expressed impermissible hostility to religion and thus violated the free exercise clause of the First Amendment. Justice Kennedy wrote, "The Civil Rights Commission's treatment of his case has some elements of a clear and impermissible hostility toward the sincere religious beliefs that motivated his objection. It is important to look carefully at what the court found to be sufficient evidence of hostility to religion. One commissioner at the meeting said, Phillips can believe what he wants to believe, but cannot act on his religious beliefs if he decides to do business in the state." The court especially focused on a statement made by a commissioner at a subsequent meeting. Freedom of religion in religion has been used to justify all kinds of discrimination throughout history, whether it be slavery, whether it be the Holocaust, whether it be, we can list 100 of situations where freedom of religion has been used to justify discrimination. And to me, it is one of the most despicable pieces of rhetoric that people can use to use their religion to hurt others. Justice Kennedy said that this was disparaging to religion and thus showed hostility. He wrote, "To describe a man's faith as one of the most despicable pieces of rhetoric that people can use is to disparage his religion in at least two distinct ways, by describing it as despicable and also by characterizing it as merely rhetorical, something insubstantial and even insincere." The commissioner even went so far as to compare Phillips' invocation of his sincerely held religious beliefs to defenses of slavery and the Holocaust. This sentiment is inappropriate for a commission charged with the solemn responsibility of fair and neutral enforcement of Colorado's anti-discrimination law, a law that protects against discrimination on the basis of religion as well as sexual orientation. The court also found hostility to religion because the commission in other cases had rejected challenges to bakers who had refused to bake cakes with messages they found offensive. There is a great deal of discussion in the various opinions about these other instances and their significance. The court thus declared, the commission's treatment of Phillips' case violated the state's duty under the First Amendment not to base laws or regulations on hostility to a religion or religious viewpoint. In view of these factors, the record here demonstrates that the commission's consideration of Phillips' case was neither tolerant nor respectful of Phillips' religious beliefs. The court concluded the commission's hostility was inconsistent with the First Amendment's guarantee that our laws be applied in a manner that is neutral toward religion. Because the court found that members of the Colorado Civil Rights Commission had expressed hostility to religion, it concluded that there was a violation of the Establishment Clause without the need to reach the questions that had been briefed and argued concerning whether it would violate the First Amendment's speech or religion clauses, to hold Phillips liable for his refusal to design and bake a cake for same-sex wedding.
Okay. Yeah, so here this is interesting because you see it's now they are turning it around. Like the question was like about should the owner of the cake shop bake a cake for this cake couple or should he not? But now they're turning it around and saying like, oh, this Colorado Civil Rights Commission, they are just against religion. Yeah, so it's not just anymore like, oh, my freedom is taken away, but it's like they're anti-religion instead of the cake shop owner being anti-gay. Now the not the gay couple, but the Civil Rights Commission is called anti-religion. Yeah. So do you have any thoughts on this?
I think it was interesting. The part where it said that that they could, like they mentioned these other examples where they say, but the person can say, I don't want to bake a cake for same-sex couple. He can't do that, but he can say that he don't want to write certain things.
Yeah.
Like they take examples that are not discriminating. If let's say someone wants to put a very offensive
Yes.
on a cake, it's definitely not the same as discriminating against a person's sexual orientation. I think the comparisons are yeah, they're not comparable. I don't know how to put it.
Mhm.
To me, it also seems like the court just decided, or they found something to latch onto, and that was this civil rights commissioner, that he expressed himself in maybe quite strong language, comparing it to the Holocaust and so on. It seems like the court was offended by this, and they decided to use that as the main argument for the commission's hostility towards this poor baker. And to me, that seems like they circumvented the actual arguments by doing that.
Yeah. Well, but there is some truth in it. Like he compares it. He says like religion and freedom of religion has been used to defend slavery. Like this, we also know that, like, in the time of the abolitionists and the people who defended slavery, they also used the Bible to defend slavery and say it's my religious freedom to have slaves. So this is true, actually, what he says about the Holocaust. I'm not that sure, because the Holocaust was not really that that clearly motivated by, well, there were of course also Christians who said like the Jews that killed Jesus, so it's okay to kill them now, but like the Nazis themselves, they were not necessarily Christian.
But I think that, as we said, I think that the comparison here to slavery and the Holocaust is a fair comparison.
Yeah.
But they make it into something that's so awful because, I don't know, they just they misrepresent what the person, not misrepresent, but they really make it seem as if the discrimination the baker made was of non-significance to, like, compared to the other ones. Of course, the discrimination is very different, and how it played out was different, but it doesn't change that you discriminate people based on things that are unacceptable. Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, slavery and the Holocaust, those things are much worse than not baking a cake. Like the cake is really a small thing compared to this very big events. But the idea is that to use your religion and your religious freedom to do something bad, or to discriminate against some people, it's
wrong.
the same. Yeah, it's the same essence. Just of course, these are very big, awful things, and this cake is a smaller thing. But yeah, but of course, the way how he said it, like it was maybe not really the best words to say it. Like,
I don't know if I don't think it was the best words, because I do think they're good examples of how people, as you just said, utilize religion to discriminate. And it just shows how toxic it can be, because people think they can do whatever they want because it's my religion.
Yeah.
And therefore you cannot discriminate against me even though it hurts other people. My religion hurts other people.
So when you read about the Holocaust, I was just Googling. It was a heterogenic group. So there were Nazis who were anti-Christian, but also a lot of Protestant National Socialists. And there's a piece written that aspects of religion did play a role in their ideology. For example, also that they almost like religiously honored their Führer, Hitler, and they also really burnt all the Hebrew books and Hebrew Bibles and so on. And they believed that when the Jews would disappear, then a real new Christian Germany could come to life. So there was a part religion in the Holocaust. Religious aspect, at least.
Yeah, and of course, you had a long history of Christian anti-Semitism before that time that we talked about, like from the Catholic Church, like with their magazine 𝗂𝗶𝗴𝗲𝗿, where they were spreading already this anti-Semitic conspiracy theories and everything. But anyway, what's happening here is that now they are using these statements.
Yeah,
they're turning it around. Like,
there was something in the next paragraph I also found interesting. When you go up, the court also found hostility to religion because the commission in other cases had rejected challenges to bakers who had refused to bake cakes with messages they found offensive. So there were other cases where bakers were accused of not baking, of discriminating against customers because they refused to bake a cake with an offensive message, for example, something that they found offensive. And these cases were turned down.
Yeah.
So I just thought it would be interesting to know what cases these were.
Yeah, I think they're going to speak about this in the next part.
Okay.
So Janice, can you read the next part? Let me see. Oh, this is about the same length, I think.
Was there hostility to religion? In appraising the court's decision, the critical question is whether there was impermissible hostility to religion. As described above, the court points to 3 pieces of evidence as demonstrating impermissible hostility to religion by the Colorado Civil Rights Commission. The first was the statement, Phillips can believe what he wants to believe, but cannot act on his religious beliefs if he decides to do business in the state. That, though, is not expressing animus to religion. It simply says that a business has to comply with the laws of the state and not discriminate. In fact, the Supreme Court in Employment Division versus Smith in 1990 was explicit that free exercise of religion does not provide a basis for an exemption from a general law of a state. Here, an anti-discrimination law. To express the view that someone should not be able to inflict injury on others, here by discrimination, is not animus against religion. The second piece of evidence of hostility to religion was the statement by a commissioner, freedom of religion and religion has been used to justify all kinds of discrimination throughout history, whether it be slavery, whether it be the Holocaust, whether it be, We can list hundreds of situations where freedom of religion has been used to justify discrimination. And to me, it is one of the most despicable pieces of rhetoric that people can use to use their religion to hurt others. But the first sentence is factually sadly true. Religion has been used to justify discrimination, including slavery and the Holocaust. The second sentence is expressing an opinion that it is wrong to use religion as a basis for hurting others. That is not hostility to religion, but expressing the view that the people should not be able to exercise their rights in a way that harms others. Finally, the court pointed to other cases where the Colorado Civil Rights Commission ruled in favor of bakers who refused to make cakes with specific messages. But those cases weren't clearly distinguishable because those bakers had not discriminated in any way that violates the Colorado law. The Colorado Anti-Discrimination Act makes it unlawful for a place of public accommodation to deny the full and equal enjoyment of goods and services to individuals based on certain characteristics, including sexual orientation. No one in the litigation disputed that Jack Phillips refused to bake a cake for Craig and Mullins because of their sexual orientation. By contrast, in the other cases, the bakers had refused to bake cakes with particular messages, but doing that did not violate the Colorado law because it did not involve discrimination based on race or sex or religion or sexual orientation. Yeah, okay, I already suspected that it was about minor things, like maybe there was maybe they wanted to have a scheldwoord, a swear word on a cake or something, and then the bakers refused to do that.
Yeah. But
that is not discrimination. It's not necessarily something that goes against the law. Okay. The evidence of discriminatory animus against religion thus seems very weak. Oh, that's a typo. It is ironic that this evidence was deemed sufficient to find a violation of the First Amendment when in the travel ban case, Trump versus Hawaii, the court found no constitutional violation, notwithstanding Donald Trump's repeated statements that he wanted a Muslim ban in immigration. During his presidential campaign, then candidate Donald Trump pledged that if elected, he would ban Muslims from entering the United States. Specifically, on December 7, 2015, he issued a formal statement calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States. That statement remained on his campaign website until May 2017, several months into his presidency. Trump repeatedly expressed his belief that Islam hates us. We can't allow people coming into this country who have this hatred of the United States and of people that are not Muslim. It is telling that the court found religious animus in Masterpiece Cake Shop, but not in the travel ban case. Yeah, it's right. Okay.
Yeah, here you
Do
see
you want
enough.
me to continue, or
Your part is finished, so if you have any comments
I
on it.
cannot hear you. Wait.
No?
you have to put it.
If you have any comments on this, because a new comparison is made here, I think. I cannot hear you. Yeah.
So they say, hey, Donald Trump says, I hate Muslims, actually. That's his statement, in a short way.
Very explicit.
And they say, oh, that's not animus against religion. And now this commissioner said, it's not good to discriminate, and that's really animus against religion. Yeah.
You see the parallel, like when it's about Islam, which is a religion that, well, most Muslims are a minority in America, and they're already like seen as a threat. So when you speak some hateful thing against them, it's not seen as a problem. But if it's
Mhm.
against like Christianity, which is like the major religion in America, then they already see it as a problem. Like it's not fair. Like
Mm-hmm.
Very hypocritical, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have this is a lot. Let me see how long is the article. It's still 2 parts, but this one is quite long, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Emily, can you read this part? Yeah, when it's too long, just tell me, then I
No,
or another person continues.
it's fine. It's fine. Just one moment. All right. The underlying unresolved issues. The court's decision is narrow and leaves unresolved the key question of whether forcing businesses to provide services for gays and lesbians or others violates free exercise of religion or free speech rights of owners who wish to refuse to provide such services. The issue is sure to come up again, perhaps in cases involving florists who won't make flower arrangements or photographers who won't take pictures at same-sex weddings. Interestingly, the court had the chance to take such a case after its decision in 𝗶𝗶𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗄𝗏 that involved a florist who refused to make flower arrangements for a same-sex wedding, but the court remanded the case in light of 𝗶𝗶𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗄𝗏. In Arlene's Flowers versus Washington, the Washington State Supreme Court came to the same conclusion as the Colorado Civil Rights Commission and the Colorado Court of Appeals. There were 2 questions presented in 𝗶𝗶𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗄𝗏 that were not resolved by the court. Would requiring services violate the free exercise clause of the First Amendment? Would requiring services be impermissible compelled speech in violation of the First Amendment? As to the former, the Supreme Court's decision in Employment Division versus Smith in 1990 seemingly answers the question. That case involved Native Americans in Oregon who argued that a state law prohibiting consumption of peyote infringed their free exercise of religion. They said that their religion required use of peyote in religious rituals. Does anyone know what peyote?
I googled it when I read the article myself. I googled it's a kind of the fruit, I think, or
It's
let me see.
okay.
It's a small spineless
Oh,
cactus.
it's a plant. It's a cactus. This one. And
it has mescaline in it. And what does mescaline do?
yeah, it's also used as a drug.
Yeah, that's probably why they use it.
Yeah, it's this is
hallucinating.
But yeah, like hallucinating psychoactive. Yeah, this talks about this. Oh, you can buy it in the Netherlands. Yeah.
Of course.
That's handsome. But so in Netherlands is not forbidden, I think. But what I want to get there here. Yeah. It's a plant that is used as a drug, but those Native Americans, they use it traditionally in their religion. So in religious rituals, so they say, yeah, we can use it because of our freedom of religion.
All right. The Supreme Court, in an opinion by Justice Antonin Scalia, ruled against the Native Americans and concluded that there was no violation of free exercise of religion because the Oregon law was neutral in that it was not motivated by a desire to interfere with religion and because it applied to everyone in the state. The court held that the free exercise clause cannot be used to challenge such a neutral law of general applicability. Justice Scalia, writing for the majority, rejected the claim that free exercise of religion required an exemption from an otherwise valid law. Scalia said that we have never held that an individual's religious beliefs excuse him from compliance with an otherwise valid law prohibiting conduct that the state is free to regulate. On the contrary, the record of more than a century of our free exercise jurisprudence contradicts that proposition. Scalia thus declared that the right of free exercise does not relieve an individual of the obligation to comply with a valid and neutral law of general applicability on the ground that the law proscribes or prescribes conduct that his religion prescribes or proscribes.
So they say we can ban peyote because we're not against religion, we're just against this hallucinating effects. It's a drug and it's for everyone. It's not it's not discriminatory.
Yeah,
it's just bad for you.
Yeah, because it's forbidden for everyone.
Yeah.
Not just for these Native Americans.
Okay.
Likewise, Colorado's law that prohibits business establishments from discriminating is a neutral law of general applicability. Colorado's anti-discrimination law was not motivated by a desire to interfere with the religion, and it applies to all business establishments. Businesses that want to discriminate based on the owner's religious beliefs thus cannot prevail on their religious freedom claim unless the Supreme Court overrules Employment Division versus Smith or significantly changes the law of the Free Exercise Clause. If the court overrules or limits Employment Division versus Smith, the implications will be great. Then any person could claim that his or her religion requires discrimination. The court long has held that the focus in religious freedom cases is whether a particular person has a sincerely held religious belief, not what the religion teaches. There would be no way to keep a business owner from saying that his or her religion requires not serving women or Jews or Muslims or any other group or any group. Although the court in 𝗶𝗶𝗂𝗃𝗃𝗃 did not resolve this issue, it did indicate that claims like that of Jack Phillips and 𝗶𝗶𝗃𝗃𝗃 were unlikely to prevail under the Free Exercise Clause and Employment Division versus Smith. Justice Kennedy's opinion suggested that the Free Exercise Clause will not provide a basis for such refusals of service when there is not the expression of hostility to religion. The court declared, while those religious and philosophical objections are protected, it is a general rule that such objections do not allow business owners and other actors in the economy and in society to deny protected persons equal access to goods and services under a neutral and generally applicable public accommodations law. The other issue, whether requiring service violates the free speech clause of the First Amendment, has potentially even broader implications. Phillips argued that baking a cake is inherently expressive activity. He described himself as a cake artist. He says that to force him to design and bake a cake is to compel him to engage in speech. Compelled speech violates the First Amendment. Justice Clarence Thomas, in an opinion joined by Justice Neil M. Gorsuch, accepted this argument and said that forcing the baker to make a cake would be impermissible compelled speech. He wrote, forcing Phillips to make custom wedding cakes for same-sex marriages requires him to, at the very least, acknowledge that same-sex weddings are weddings and suggest that they should be celebrated, the precise message he believes his faith forbids. The First Amendment prohibits Colorado from requiring Phillips to bear witness to these facts or to affirm a belief with which he disagrees. I question whether baking a cake should be regarded as expressive activity and whether a company can make such a speech claim. But if so, then almost any kind of work can be seen as being a form of expression. If baking a cake is speech, then so is cooking food, or, as in other cases that have arisen, taking pictures or making floral arrangements. Any business could refuse to serve gay weddings, or for that matter anyone, by claiming that the anti-discrimination law constitutes impermissible compelled speech. For example, Title II of the 1964 Civil Rights Act prohibits restaurants and other public accommodations from discriminating based on race. A restaurant owner could claim that forcing it to cook food for African Americans is impermissible compelled speech in violation of the First Amendment. Any business that wants to discriminate would be able to say that forcing it to provide services is compelling its expression. In fact, why couldn't an employer say that it can hire only men to express a view about the type of work that should be done by the sexes, or that women's role should be in the home? Enforcing anti-discrimination law and forcing the employer to hire women would thus be impermissible compelled speech. At the oral arguments in Masterpiece Cake Shop, Justice Zevende-dags said that accepting the speech argument would create a basis for an exception to every civil rights law adopted since Day 2. I don't know why Justice Breyer chose Day 2 in his comment, but the underlying point is surely right. An inherent tension exists between liberty and equality. The application of all anti-discrimination laws infringes the freedom to discriminate. But for decades, the law has made the choice that ensuring equality is worth sacrificing the liberty to discriminate. Put in constitutional terms, ending discrimination is a compelling government interest. Enforcing anti-discrimination laws thus should not be seen as a violation of free exercise of religion or freedom of speech.
So we come back to the freedom and equality question again.
Yeah. It is so important because if I think about the Adventist Church, at least the conservative Adventist Church, they would so stand at the side of the bake shop owner.
Yes.
They would, so I would have, years ago, I would have said, hey, they can pick another bake shop. If I don't want to bake that cake, I'm not going to bake that cake. I don't agree with it, you know. I would have so stand at that side. So it's so good to learn about those things.
I even remember I was years ago. I was with an Adventist family. We were talking about homosexuality, and then the father of the family he started to talk about this case about like, yeah, in America there was a Christian bakery, and it was really a small family bakery, like their little business, and then there was this gay couple, and yeah, because he was Christian, he didn't want to bake the cake for them, so then they went to the court, and they asked a lot of money, so then this cake shop, they will have to close down because they cannot pay the, how you say, the yeah, the fine or the yeah, so he was really sympathizing with this poor baker, and then his daughter said like, well, if I was that baker, I would have put some poison in the cake. Like, not poison, but like some 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗲𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 and that all of the guests at the wedding, they will just have diarrhea and like. But then her father said like, no, you cannot do that. If you would do that, you would go to the court.
Not like, hey, you cannot do that. That's so not nice. But
No,
then you will
yes.
be sued again.
Yes.
Oh wow. Yeah. 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 But yeah, I think they all stand at the side of the baker.
Yes.
Take side. Yeah.
Also, the Adventist Church, the organization, they also in America, like also I think the North American division and General Conference, of course, they're also using their religious freedom to say like, okay, we don't want to hire LGBT people in our institutions, like like schools or hospitals or for the church offices or whatever. They're using the same argument. So okay, I will read. All of you read already, so I will read the last part about the future. Justice Kennedy's retirement at the end of October 2017 changes so much on the Supreme Court. I'm a little bit including what is likely to happen when the issues presented in 𝗂𝗶𝗂𝗃𝗄𝗏 return to the Supreme Court. Chief Justice John Roberts Jr. and Justice Thomas and Alito vehemently dissented on 𝗂𝗏𝗂𝗏𝗃𝗄𝗏 versus Hodges. They also expressed concern about what recognizing a right to same-sex marriage would mean for those who oppose it on religious grounds. I'm not sure this Justice Kennedy, which side was he supporting? The cake shop or the
think he was
couple?
Yeah, that was the one who was on the cake shop side.
On the cake shop side, okay, yeah. And those ones I think as well, because they were against 𝗂𝗏𝗂𝗏𝗃𝗄𝗏 versus Hodges. Yeah, I think those people, they are all on the cake shop side, if I understand it well. In 𝗶𝗏𝗏 versus Smith, Justice Gorsuch wrote a dissent joined by Justice Thomas and Alito, indicating strong disagreement with the decision in 𝗂𝗏𝗂𝗏𝗃𝗄𝗏. In 𝗶𝗏𝗏, the court declared unconstitutional an Arkansas law that did not allow both members of a married same-sex couple to be listed on a child's birth certificate. Read the oral argument in 𝗂𝗶𝗂𝗃𝗄𝗏, Chief Justice Roberts and Justices Alito and Gorsuch asked questions and made comments that left no doubt as to how they would vote. Indeed, Justice Thomas and Gorsuch wrote a separate opinion in 𝗂𝗶𝗂𝗃𝗄𝗏 saying that the bakery should have won on free speech counts. Okay, so all of them there are on the bakery side. At the same time, Justices Ginsburg, Breyer, Sotomayor, and Elena Kagan were part of the majority on 𝗂𝗏𝗂𝗏𝗃𝗄𝗏 and 𝗶𝗏𝗏. Their comments at oral argument left no doubt that they were on the side of the gay couple. Okay. This means that the ultimate resolution of the issues will depend on the newest member of the court, but it seems far more likely that the new justice will side with Roberts, Thomas, Samuel Alito Jr. and Gorsuch than with Ginsburg, Breyer, Sotomayor, and Kagan. Justice Kennedy has written every Supreme Court decision in American history advancing rights for gays and lesbians. In Romer versus Evans, 1996, he wrote the opinion for the court striking down the Colorado initiative that repealed all laws in the state protecting gays and lesbians from discrimination and precluding the enactment of any new such laws. The court concluded that the initiative was motivated by impermissible animus against gays and lesbians.
But now it says that Kennedy is pro-gay rights.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, how does it say that he's pro?
Yeah.
He's-
It doesn't really say. He wrote the decision, but yeah, and there he wrote the opinion, but it it's not really clear to me what is his own opinion. Okay, maybe the next one makes it. There are more examples given. In Lawrence versus Texas, Justice Kennedy wrote the opinion for the court declaring unconstitutional Texas law that made it a crime to engage in private, consensual, and homosexual activity. Kennedy eloquently said that if the right to privacy means anything, it is what consenting adults do in their own bedrooms. So he is supporting the gay people here. In United States versus Windsor, I think this is a case that's mentioned in her series about homosexuality. I think Windsor was one of the lesbian couple. Justice Kennedy wrote the opinion for the court striking down a key provision for the Federal Defense of Marriage Act, which said that for purposes of federal law and federal benefits, marriage had to be between a man and a woman. 2 years later, in 𝗿𝗶𝗂𝗲𝗏 versus 𝗂𝗽𝗋𝗃, 2015, Justice Kennedy wrote a majority opinion holding that state law prohibiting same-sex marriage decline equal protection and violates the right to marry. Justice Kennedy could have written the opinion in Masterpiece Cake Shop, making it clear that businesses have no First Amendment right to discriminate against gays and lesbians. Okay, unfortunately he didn't, and it may be a long time before there is a majority of the court willing to do so. So, as I understand it, in other court cases, this Justice Kennedy was on the side of the gay people, but in this case, he supported the Masterpiece Cake Shop. I think because of he agrees with the freedom of religion, I think.
Yeah, because then he was replaced by Brett Kavanaugh.
Afterwards, I think, later on. Yeah, I think that is, I don't know when this article is written because it doesn't give a date, unfortunately, but I think it's a while ago because it also mentioned Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who already passed away and was replaced. And
the case was decided in 2018, so I think it's somewhere there around 2018, 19.
Yeah, but even after reading, I think the cake shop won the case. Yes, yeah, because I read the whole article and then I still didn't know who won the case, but
yeah, because the local court ruled in favor of the couple, then they appealed to the appellate court, and the appellate court also ruled in favor of the couple, but the Supreme Court reversed it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I missed the end.
You missed the end.
I missed the end. I had a crying girl upstairs.
Yeah,
because she couldn't do
the last part was about Justice Kennedy, one of the lawyers at the Supreme Court, that in other cases he supported gay people, like in 𝗿𝗶𝗃𝗏𝗏 versus 𝗂𝗽𝗋𝗃 and United States versus Windsor. But in this case, he supported the cake shop.
Yeah, I already thought so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so the cake shop, what Janice just said, like in the Colorado court, the gay couple won, but in the Supreme Court, the cake shop won in 2018.
Yes. Oh, it was nice to read the story of the article.
There's indeed something on Wikipedia that his jurisprudence, so how he deals with law, is libertarian.
Okay, that's why he chooses
for freedom.
Yeah.
Well, that's just one sentence.
It's actually really strange, that the Supreme Court is ruled by people that have their own thoughts about laws.
Yeah.
And when they say that's the way it is, but that's not really
interpreting law.
It's interpreting law. It's not really law what they It's so
So
strange,
scary,
so
yeah.
scary. Yeah.
Yeah, also like, oh, when I was discussing with my parents about it, like, I said, like, in America, a court case can really have a big impact. Like the same-sex marriage in 2015 was also decided by the Supreme Court, while in the Netherlands this was done by the parliament and the, how do you say, the parliament? You have the
Government.
the government. Yeah, the government. It's all the government, of course, but the, how do you say it, cabinet, the
Cabinet.
the cabinet. Yeah, we have the cabinet, and then we have the parliament,
Mhm.
which is into
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
the second room and the first room, but they vote about it, and it's the political parties that are in the parliament, they decide, and not the court. So we have a very different system. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Also abortion, like in Roe v. Wade in America was also a court case, not a law. Like, well, in the Netherlands, it's, yeah, the parliament votes to change the law. Like, our law says that marriage is open for everyone, for straight and for gay couples. So if you want to change it back, then you have to change the law again. Like, yeah, but this is just a comparison with Netherlands. Not that important. Let's close with a prayer, if except anyone wants to say something. No? Okay. Yeah, dear God, I want to thank you for helping me to give this presentation, and yeah, actually it was actually good that in the end that Emily's already did the part about the comparison of the left and the right, because yeah, because of that we could go over that quickly, and we could discuss more about the article and go more in depth about this court case of 𝗂𝗶𝗱𝗲𝗃 versus Colorado Civil Rights Commission. And yeah, we want to thank you that you gave us this understanding about equality, that equality is more important than freedom. And even though we are also Christians, and we would be eager to sympathize with maybe with a Christian bakery, like, yeah, because we understand his beliefs, we understand where he's coming from, because we also used to be on the conservative Christian side. But even though, because we understand the message of equality, we know that that is not good, because yeah, we also can compare it with racism. Like, if a restaurant would say we only want white people, we would also be against that. Yeah, we thank you for all these insights that you have given us through this message, and yeah, will you also help us to share it with others, like when we talk with someone and this discussion comes at the table or anywhere, that we know how to present the right arguments, and yeah, to explain why we stand for equality, that they may also see it and get the point. Yeah, will you continue to bless us this Sabbath, and for yeah, and we thank you for it in Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you.
Yes, it was longer than I thought. I thought it would be really short, but
You
it
should
was
stop the
quite long.
recording, Wouter.
Oh, yeah.